table here can vouch for me. Earlier today, I was at my former university on an alumni panel, and I had to follow a graduate who was at NASA, and I had to follow this NASA person with a story about how I'd failed out of Adelphi, and now I am following royalty. So, thank you, Your Highness. I have an old school Irish father. And what that means is he takes all of his emotions and he buries them as deep down as he possibly can. Anytime I call, he always answers the phone the same way. Your mother's not here. And he does that now that we have a good relationship. We didn't always. There was a day that I'll never forget where our relationship took a turn because it had to hit bottom before it could build up. I just finished a glass of milk, and my mom was really angry because she didn't have any for her coffee, and she's screaming at me over it. And I wanted to explain to her that we didn't live in the countryside. And by the time her coffee was done brewing, I would be at the store and back with an entire cow for her. But logic tended to escape her when she would get upset like that. And so I decided I would just go grab my wallet and get to the store as quick as I could. And when I got to the top of the steps, my dad stopped, and he looked up at his paper, and he spoke to me for the first time in what felt like years. And he said, I can't wait until you get the fuck out of here. And so clearly I had outworn my welcome. And I told him, you know what? I'm going to leave. And then you and I, we don't have to pretend to have a relationship anymore. And I made my way downstairs and I started to pack my stuff because I just wanted to get out of there. And that's when I heard these footsteps. And they were slow and they were heavy. And they had a purpose. And when my dad hit the bottom step, our eyes locked and he made a beeline right towards me. Now, if I had been a kid, that beeline would have came with fist cocked because he would have beat the shit out of me. But I'm an adult now, and he can't put his hands on me. But he stopped right here. And I knew he was mad because his face was red, and there was spit curling up in the corners of his mouth. And he said, I don't need to pretend to have a relationship with you because you're a fucking loser. You hear me? And I mean, he was right here. I heard him. I knew exactly what he had said. But he decided he needed to repeat it. And as he did, he took his huge sausage fingers and he drove them into my chest like he was trying to bury the words into me. You're a fucking loser. And they said, you quit at everything you do because you have no fucking heart. You hear me? And kind of like, Dad, yes, you're right next to me. But I knew he was going to repeat it again. But this time he beat his own chest to emphasize the words. No fucking heart. And then he turned and he left. And I finished packing. And I got to the front door, and I turned around, and I looked at my dad sitting there reading the paper. And I wanted to tell him how it was his fault. It was his fault that I didn't know how to fight back. It was his fault I didn't have any heart. Because when you're a little kid and you're getting the shit kicked out of you by someone who's 6'6", 260 pounds, you don't learn how to fight back. You learn how to duck and cover and wait for the shit to stop. And that's how I live my life. I'm waiting for the shit to stop. I wanted to tell him all that. But the only words that came out were, I love you, Dad. And he never looked up from his paper. My wife and I were expecting our first child November 1st. And we're having a baby boy. And I think a lot, thank you. I think a lot about the first time I get to hear him say, I love you, Dad. And if being an old school father means you have to hide your emotions, I'm really glad that I'm new school because I can't wait to say it back.